Hello and welcome to those returning and those just joining us for day 2 of our 5-day event, Feminine Intelligence for a Regenerative Future, originating live from the Blue Spirit Resort in Costa Rica. Hi, my name is Mary Susan Trout, and I'll be your online companion supporting the framework for our 5-day event. Yesterday, we enjoyed and explored regenerative ideas with the theme of Earth. Today we will have equally dynamic group of speakers and we'll explore the theme of the day, water. Our first session will start in a moment and it will be as follows. In the first 90 minutes, we will introduce 3 speakers, then gather in conversation with a panel, followed by a break. After we reconvene from the break, we will have our second session with 3 speakers, and it too will be followed by a panel conversation. We invite you to join in. For both sessions, please ask any questions you may have in the chat room so we can answer them. I would now like to hand it over to Karen Downs, who created this 2021 FemmeQ event. She's the co-creator of FemmeQ and listened to her intuition and held on the impulse to create FemmeQ in Costa Rica this year. And she started it with the theme that's so important to all of us, feminine intelligence for a regenerative future. Here's Karen.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Mary Susan, and either welcome back or welcome for the first time to our FemmeQ gathering here in Costa Rica. We're lucky enough to be here live, surrounded by the jungle and on the edge of the Pacific Ocean. So whilst you may not have been able to travel to be with us, and you may be homeschooling your children, you may be in isolation, or you may be free of restrictions, wherever you are in the world, what we send is our love and our blessings for healing. Yesterday was a day of healing and a day to really evaluate and look, as we reflect on our speakers of yesterday, to evaluate and be aware of the trauma and the consequences of being in isolation and confronting many of the crises that we see in the world right now. And this is why this conversation is so important. We're all aware. I don't have to underscore or underline those messages. We are a part of and witnessing what is happening on the planet right now, and we are part of Mother Earth, feeling it in our bones, in our cells, in our minds, and in our hearts. So this is why this conversation is so important and why we've gathered these extraordinary 28 change makers. Each of my colleagues and friends that are gathering over these 5 days are practitioners. They are on the ground, either working or they're in academic institutions trying to figure out new ways, new systems, and the ways of transformation that we can bring about on the planet. This is a time of the feminine rising. This is our time, and this is not about women rising. This is not a feminist movement. This is a movement to activate a higher level of consciousness in response to what we see in the world and to the future we wish to create. That requires a shift in the old paradigm. It requires a shift in how we're working, how we're thinking, and how we behave. And often that requires giving things up, sacrifice of things that we've become accustomed to, things we've found comfortable or we'd hoped we would have desired or fulfilled in our dreams. Some of those losses have been tragic and others have been voluntary and intentional. So wherever you are, whatever you're experiencing, we want to hold you in our hearts with our One Life participants. And I'm looking around our beautiful audience that were able to travel here to Costa Rica and be restored. But we hope this conversation is regenerative in the cells of your body, in your hearts, and in your minds, because goodness knows we need that right now. So we're here to activate imagination and reimagine a new future. Yesterday we were joined by Patty Elridge, Jan Huitz, and Will Keepan in our first session, who talked about and spoke to us about the necessary movement or actions we need to take for healing. And then we heard from Alessandra, who's a filmmaker here in Costa Rica, Ian McKenzie, who's putting together a gathering at the end of the week, and also Annette Knopp, who's going to be with you shortly. So all of our speakers today are responding to the theme of the day, which is reconnecting and regenerating. We also will address the notion of creating new perspectives, because it's the new perspectives that will help us and enable us to create new narratives, reimagine what the future can be, and take action in light of that future. We're bringing light to the dark, and that's our intent for this week. So with that, I would like to introduce Annette Knopp, who is with us and is leading every one of our meditations this week. Yesterday was the element of earth, and we hope you had time, for those that were able to be with us, we hope you had time to reflect on the assignment. And today is the element of water. So please welcome, and I feel honoured to be joined by Annette right now, who will lead us through the meditation. Thank you, Annette.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you all for being here with us. So let's just start our water exploration, water meditation. So settle into a seat that feels supportive, comfortable, that allows your body to feel relaxed, but still your mind to remain wakeful. And feeling for a moment the contact that your sitting bones, sitting flesh make with the chair, the cushion underneath. And see if you can let your body relax a little deeper into the effortless support of the chair, the ground, the cushion. And then allow your awareness to be connecting with the gentle movement of your breath without trying to control the breath in any way. Feeling how the body is being breathed by life itself. And if you haven't closed your eyes yet, I invite you to do so now. And then I invite you to allow an image to arise that represents to you, in this moment, the element and the healing qualities of water. For some of us, it might be a bubbling creek, a gentle, broad stream, maybe the ocean, tropical rain, maybe a clear mountain lake. Whatever the image is that arises from your natural intelligence, just trust that and see if you can settle on that image. And as you hold that image in front of your inner eye, just start to notice the qualities, healing or nourishing qualities that arise, are getting evoked by your image of water. And allow yourself to really savor these qualities. For some of us, the element of water has healing qualities like calming, comforting, a central flow or ease. And maybe for you today, it feels clearing or cleansing. And whatever the quality or healing experience is that you are having right now with the element of water, I invite you to really stay with that, to drink from that. And then notice where in your body you might be feeling that in the most vivid way right now. And then see if from that area of your body, that healing quality of water can spread gradually out. Starting to travel into different areas of your body that might need exactly that quality today, in this moment of your life. Allowing water to flow and permeate each cell of your body, your flesh, dripping into your bones, until you have the experience almost of you being water itself. And letting yourself rest here, marinate in that deep connection with the element of water. And let's also notice and affirm that that element of water is already always present within our own being. Not just on an energetic level, but really the deepest dimension. And the wisdom that water has is what is often called in traditional Buddhism or shamanism, the mirror-like wisdom. So water is similar to a mountain lake that reflects the passing of the clouds, reflects the passing weather pattern above, and yet in its essence remains still and clear. And that still clarity and openness is already part of our being. We just need to reconnect with that. And no matter what your experience was here today, no matter what your own direct sense is of what water offers to you in this moment, see if that healing quality can spread further out beyond the confines of your own body, and let it travel and touch anyone, anything that you sense is in need of that healing wisdom of water. And then we slowly shift gears. Take a moment to sense your physical body again, and whenever you're ready, just open the eyes, and maybe without disconnecting from that healing or calming quality of water. Thank you for joining us in this meditation. And I'd like to introduce now our moderator for the day. It's a great honor. I know Alvaro personally, and I think the world of him. So Alvaro Cedeño Molinari is an expert in conflict transformation and a practitioner of regeneration at multiple levels, from politics and technology to spiritual transformation and community building. He worked for 10 years as a facilitator of intercultural competence building in 12 countries, ranging from Thailand and India to Norway and Canada, and met his wife in one of such trainings. Later, he served as a diplomat for his country, Costa Rica, in China, and served as an ambassador to Japan and the World Trade Organization in Switzerland. He had the rare experience of opening a new embassy in Beijing, structuring and negotiating a bilateral green strategy with Japan worth $800 billion, and launched 2 plurilateral coalitions of countries for electric commerce and sustainable trade, each with more than 60 member countries at present. He is now a member of Regenerate Costa Rica, where he works as a political strategist and network weaver, a consultant for 2 startups working on virtual reality and blockchain, and funded his own firm in corporate diplomacy. He lives in San Jose, the capital of Costa Rica, with his wife, 2 daughters, and their female dog. Thank you, Alvaro, so much for being with us.
It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I would like to start by honoring the land where we're in, that nurtured for 1,500 years the indigenous people of the Chorotega community, that took care of it, and we have inherited from them. So I would also like to think in terms of our theme for today of reconnection and regeneration, and offer a brief reflection about what regeneration requires. Regeneration is what nature does. And what we could do is to try to remove some obstacles from the way of nature. So I would like to offer a tiny acupunctural intervention regarding a minor shift that could help us move forward in regeneration. We are seeing a very eventful month in terms of catastrophic episodes happening in the climate emergency that is now permanent. And it's been only, and I want to underline only, 1.2 degrees of warming of the planet. And collectively, all countries have agreed to try to limit the temperature change to maximum of 2 degrees, which means that we have set a goal that is still making us move in the wrong direction. Who knows for how long? And we need to look the other way of this degrading trend so that we remove the obstacles on the way for regeneration to happen. Our topic for this conversation is reconnecting and regenerating, and I would like to introduce our wonderful, wonderful speakers who are here presently with us and also connecting online from different latitudes. First, I would like to present Ekta Kapoor, who is joining us from Delhi. Ekta is the founder and editor of She magazine and the founder of the nonprofit peace-building initiative, South Asia Union. After a long career as an award-winning lifestyle and fashion journalist, heading prestigious publications and websites, Ekta now focuses on gender equality, social justice, and peace-building through her writing and initiatives. She magazine hosts summits led by eminent women to promote regional peace and to create a platform for women's leadership from South Asia. Ekta was a mentor for the Do Schools Industry Disruptor 2020 by We Empower Asia, UN Women in India and Europe, and for the UN Investor Consortium for Women Entrepreneurs 2020 by India's NITI, Aayog, and UNDP. She has authored a spiritual memoir and edited an anthology of short stories. She lives in New Delhi with her husband, an elderly golden retriever, and a floating population of 2 adult daughters and mother-in-law turned best friend. Erin will be our first speaker today, and her topic will be women, water, and wisdom. Our second speaker of the day is sitting to my right, Melina Angel. As a theoretical and evolutionary biologist, Melina understands evolution in contexts of community and complexity. She has been asking nature, as a biomimetist, about regeneration and evolution at different scales, from individuals to ecosystems, to be applied on human systems. She's leading projects as How to Evolve, with key learnings for adaptation and evolution, Land Trusts for Regeneration, Colombia Regenerativa, linked with RCN, South-South exchanges, linking Africa and Latin America through its participation at the Transformation Systems Mapping of the Blue Marble Evaluation. She co-founded Biosistemica, which consults for private, public, and civil organizations and does mobilization projects globally. She coordinates and teaches at the Transdisciplinary Master on Sustainable Systems of Life at the Externado University of Colombia. As theoretical biologist, she has been modeling evolutionary process and bringing biological thinking to the Regenerative Communities Network, ISO for biomimetics, and more. And our third speaker is Erin Toppenberg, who is the co-founder of The Water Bearers, an organization that empowers women around the world through access to clean water. She is also a certified trainer for heart math and shares heart coherence techniques with rural villages as well as corporate boardrooms. Her mission in life is to connect more and more in the heart while expanding the consciousness and compassion in the world for which she has found water to be the purest conduit. So I want to pass the floor on to Ekta. You have 10 minutes, and I'll figure out a way to let you know if you go too far over those 10 minutes. Over to you, Ekta.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm very grateful to Karen for having me here and to Dr. Silla Elwadi for the introduction. I'm honored to be here on this panel with Erin and Melina. Their work feels so connected with my country. I think it's very apt that we've been put on the same panel. A lot of you know a lot about India, but let me tell you a little bit about the goddesses that we have. We have a goddess for everything. We have a Lakshmi, which is the goddess of wealth and prosperity. We have Saraswati, the goddess of music, wisdom. Our rivers are named after goddesses. In fact, when Annette was doing the beautiful meditation, I was actually imagining myself floating in the Ganga, in the Ganges River, in Rishikesh. That's where we draw our power from. We have a goddess for food, Annapurna. We have a goddess, the earth itself is a goddess, Bhumi. And in fact, in the Indian versions of Christianity in the villages, especially in the rural areas, Mother Mary is a goddess who, bestows blessings and she can do miracles. So in this environment, we are brought up with the idea of the Devi or the goddess from the time that we're small children. We go on pilgrimages to please her. If you want to do well in your exams, or you want a new client, or you want to find the love of your life, there's a goddess for you. You can pray to. We have temples for menstruating goddesses. You'll see the symbols of the goddess everywhere. It's in schools, in workplaces, in homes. But if you look closely at these representations of the goddess, you'll notice that they highlight only the soft power of Devi. And I've come to see this as patriarchy marketed as religion. They highlight the motherhood, the nurturing, the love, the caring, the compassion, the smiling face of Goddess Durga. But today, let's look at the other side of the goddess. Let's look at that one supreme goddess, who's the goddess of goddesses. She is the Mahadevi. Now, she's the original mama. She has 108 different names. She's the ultimate Amazon. She's the Shakti, or the power that drives the universe. She's there in the stars, and she's there in every cell of your body. When you see the image of Devi, she's depicted with 8 arms, or sometimes even 20 arms. And most of them are holding a weapon or a symbol of war. In most depictions, she has a third eye. And in one story, she actually attacks from the third eye. She rides a tiger or sometimes a lion. If she's in her Durga mood, she has the severed head of a demon in her left hand, dripping with blood. She's chopped his head off and his neck is dripping with blood. If she's in her Kali avatar, she has this big red tongue sticking out, and the image is quite frightening. It's the stuff of nightmares. Now, basically, this Devi is the antithesis of everything that we've come to associate with femininity in the modern world, both East and West. She's not soft and fragile. She's strong and powerful. She doesn't behave like a woman. She goes out there slaying bad men. And unlike everything we've been taught about womanhood being gentle and nurturing, here I present to you womanhood that slays, literally. This is femininity that translates to violence, pure fury, rage. The only difference is that, unlike male rage, born of war and hatred, the goddess's rage is perhaps born of love, protective energy. It's her desire for justice. So essentially, the female principle and the male principle are equal, both in their life-giving and life-destroying properties. And in fact, the female principle is probably even more powerful because of the force and the purity of her love. Now, you'd think that in a country like India that worships feminine energy to this extent, we'd be, respectful of our women. But as you know, unfortunately, that's not the case. According to the National Family Health Survey, about 40% of Indian women face physical violence in their lives. If you're uneducated, the number goes up to 44%. If you're divorced or separated, that number goes up to 66%. It's fairly common. Even I faced spousal violence in my first marriage. And it's not just the physical violence that is so crushing. It's also the mental violence of being told every day that you're a nothing. It's the financial violence that keeps you dependent on the men in your lives and keeps you in personal poverty. It's the emotional violence of being stripped of your dignity and your respect every day and being dehumanized. I'm sure you've all heard about the rape epidemic in India, how many girls are assaulted every day. And some reports say that 99% of actual sexual violence cases go unreported because the perpetrator is the husband. And marital rape is not a crime in India. And if that wasn't horrible enough, in some villages of India, women, especially the ones from the lower castes, they are raped on their way to the fields in the early morning to defecate. Now, women have to time their bowel movements so that they can, have the privacy of the dark in the morning. Now, imagine the mindset of the man who hides in the trees and he's waiting for these women to come out of their homes, women who he knows because they're from the same village. And then he attacks her when she's at her most vulnerable. She's alone, she's sleepy, she's in a rush to go to the toilet. Imagine how dehumanizing, how humiliating, how mortifying that is. And that's built into this so-called act of sexual violence. There's nothing sexual about it. Once my husband and I, we saw a car with two completely opposite bumper stickers. So one was this bumper sticker which said Ma, and it had the star of the Devi. And the other bumper sticker showed a man kicking a woman in her butt, and she's like flying off. She's bent over and she's flying off. And the detail on that sticker was amazing. It said, "No woman, no problem." And it depicted a man in this typical Punjabi outfit. And I was stunned. I was like, here's at least one Indian company making bumper stickers that's glorifying violence against women. And look at the irony of it. They're both on the same car, the Devi and this man kicking the woman. And I was like, this is quintessential Indian, So how does one resolve this paradox? You won't find the answers in the Indian epics because by the time they were written, around 500 BC, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, you already have patriarchal references in them. So some of the women are feisty and some of them have divine powers, but you also have rape and you also have women paying for the actions of men. And the concept of honor has already come in by then. Honor, which is basically boils down to reigning in female sexuality. So you have to go back earlier. You have to go back to the beginnings of why one human being would want to oppress another human being. To the beginnings of casteism, racism. And if you try to understand the mind of the oppressor, you'll see that the desire to oppress is born of fear. Why do we put animals in a cage in the zoo? Because we know very well what would happen if we came in face to face with a lion, right? We're aware of its power. And that is why we enslave it from the moment it's born. So in the real world context, in the same way, the male has found a way to dominate the female, not because he believes that she's weak, but because he knows that she's powerful beyond anything he can handle. And so boys and girls are conditioned in a certain way from the time they're born. They're both told that the male is superior. And over the centuries, the female principle has become clouded under prejudice, discrimination, misogyny. In fact, in India, if you want to insult a man, you call him a woman, or you imply that he wears bangles. Womanhood is equated with weakness, with docility. And it's not just the boys and the men who've been taught to deny the female energy inside them, it's also the women. They don't know their power. They don't know what they're capable of. They don't know who they really are. They're like that elephant, the baby elephant, that's taught from the time it's born, it's beaten if it tries to step out of the fence. So by the time it's a big, grown-up adult elephant, it still doesn't step out. It doesn't know that it can just break the fence and just walk away. It doesn't do that. It's not aware. You know, a couple of years ago, someone asked me, what do I do? And I said, I run a magazine that inspires women to be goddesses. And that's my truth. I want to wake up women to their truth. I want to reconnect them to their truth, Indian women especially. You're not a slave. You're not somebody's property. You're not an animal in a zoo. You're not just capable of love and compassion and serving. You're also capable of immeasurable strength, power, and slaying injustice. You are a goddess. Claim it. Own it. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you very much, Ekta. There is clapping here happening. I don't know if you can hear it. This is a very powerful
Thank
message
you.
that you are sharing with us. And if I try to ask myself how the reconnection and regeneration of the relationship between the masculine and the feminine in a cultural context like yours needs in order to happen, there is a very thick layer, it seems, of structural violence, which is very diffuse and very difficult to transform. So I leave this question here for our Q&A session right after, which is basically what kind of structural violence has taken place in a community that changes a link that should be fertile into a link that is hostile, as you have described. I would like to now give the floor to Melina, and Melina is going to speak to us about living and regenerative systems. Up to you, Melina. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Alvaro. Thank you, Eka. You make me flow my waters with understanding and going with the huge pain that it is happening in India. I've been there and I could really connect with that pain. I want to honor you to bring it here and I will explain why it's so important. And you touch a little bit about that story, and I want to weave with something that happened yesterday as well. Two things yesterday. Life, when we arrive here, we arrive in this natural harmony. We are just responding of the sensing, the feelings, the the really being in this three-dimensional world again, and just trying to flow with that. Life is just flowing through us in our sensations of being here. That's life. That's the essence. We are experiencing from the essence. That's a child, little child, you know, babies. And seems that we are just giving this harmony also in connecting with our caregivers, principal caregivers. So we are starting relationships and love passing through. I just want to be acknowledged that we have an in-person meeting, just a parenthesis. That I want to be in touch with everyone here and online, but we have been seeing screens for so long. I want to see people. And we experience this oneness of being who we are, kind of navigating between mom and dad, between masculine and feminine, between what is being nourished and what is to want to go and reach a chair or whatever, you know, like this natural flow. And at some point, we start to have, hey, don't do that. That was wrong. Nah, you know? And that started a process of disconnection of our essence, a process of being punished, fear of being punished, you know, and shame of who we really are. And that just starts to build up and build up and build up. And what we do is to survive to that kind of strange things that we are feeling, because it doesn't feel very well to feel that, the rejection. We start to make some survival strategy, which mainly is find a way to feel safe in your environment. And this safeness is kind of, you do whatever you need to do in order to be safe and to feel safe. So you give up yourself in order to just be safe in the way you understand you are being safe. And we all are that wounded. We all have this pattern. Shame and fear of ourselves, fear of being punished, and the strategies. So this healing process is about to be able to reconnect. And it is kind of very difficult right now, because we have been just at the shore, at the surface of the ocean, as we said today. We are like these ups and downs, and maybe the wave will just turn you around because, you know, your partner left or whatever, you know, like use like this turmoil that it is happening in our lives, and we are trying to figure it out. But under that, it is a huge amount of pain accumulated. And we have been told, just be positive. Be positive. Think about positive things. And you are trying to get your balance on the surface of this turmoil that it is boiling underneath. And but be positive. You know, you have to be positive. Please, ladies, you know, be authentic, you know, and connect with the natural world. You know, like it can be everything. Can be just so superficial. Everything. Regeneration, the world regeneration we are working with can be so superficial if you take it that way. And the proposal is to be able to dip into that ocean and to embrace pain. Actually, pain means put attention, P-A, integrate now. That's what pain is. It's our bodies, it's our soul, it's our heart just calling your attention. Hey, I'm here. And we just tough the pain. No, I am not feeling pain, I'm tough. Because we are in this masculine kind of space where we have to be tough. And actually we had to be tough. And now we need to embrace this vulnerability again and being able to be in touch with our pain, because the pain, the only way to get out of it is through it, is feeling it, is really being in the pain. We really need, as human species, to embrace the pain that we are feeling, because it causes blockages. And blockages of what? Of life. Because life naturally flows. Remember the childhood, the childness. We need to recover the childness of being, the essence of being. And to recover that, to be in touch with pain is fundamental. It's fundamental. And as yesterday, I don't remember who said this, but said we need to reconnect with this capability, to regenerate the capability to be in touch with what is really happening. And there is no bad way to feel or good way to feel either. It is just what you are feeling. If you're feeling enraged because you don't have whatever you want, just go with it like a child, you know, like you need to host yourself in those feelings, in those sadness, in those desperations, you know, in those we need to embrace ourselves, and we are growing this collective capability of embrace between ourselves, because we are interdependent. I cannot deal with my own deep pain if somebody is not really holding me. I can't hold myself, but this kind of, well, so many amazing people around, why not somebody can hug me? You know, why not? So we can start to acknowledge this really need of interdependence, this really need of each other. And that's regeneration. That is the starting point of regenerate this planet. If we don't do that work, we are not really regenerating, because we are polluted inside. Our waters are polluted inside, full of pain. We need to let it go. The earth can take all these tears and transform it. So just go with that, right? And the amazing thing about this regeneration is that we will be flourishing, and we will just change this pain. And actually, it's like having, you know, like the dishes dirty, and you have a pile of dirty dishes, and you start to wash them, you know. But at some point, there are no more dirty dishes. You clean it, you know. It's done. The work will be done. And the transition of it is started to be able to be open to pleasure, because life is so enjoyable. You know, it's so good to be in the ocean, you know, and feel the waves, and to play with sand, and to be with friends. And it is so wonderful. It's so wonderful. We really need to be open to this pleasure. We haven't been trained for that, actually. This has been kind of, you know, but we need to start somewhere. So we just enjoy washing dishes. This is not about the spirituality and going to the retreats and so on. It's about spirituality. You know, it's about how every part of yourself is connected with the movement of life. Life doesn't occur in a retreat. You know, like life is all the time. You are dreaming, you are alive, still alive. You know, so be with it, be with your life, be with your pain, embrace your pain, and go to the other side of the you know, like this going to be up again. and don't stick with that. I think the last thing I want to say is that Earth is balancing itself all the time. So if you see the global north, you see mostly no feelings. Like, let's do the things, and we need to get this done, and you have half an hour, and everybody, this is something amazing. Everybody is ready to do what they say, and they are engaged, and they do it. That's amazing, right? I say it because I am Latin. And you have at the other side the global south, and the global south, like, oh my God, like just putting knives in your heart, and the heart is bulbing in your hand, and you have all these songs, and everybody's just so, But that's because Earth is trying to balance. And the thing is that feeling creates energy. So sometimes I hear things like, oh, nature is so powerful. We need to humble under nature. And I say, like, yes, but at the same time, it's like, I am nature, and I am that powerful. I am that powerful because we are. That's it. We have pain, but we have this amazing power. So imagine if we can just really process these big pains we have, as Ainka was saying. I was crying in tears about that. Like, just my waters started to flow because it's really painful. But we really need to know that we hold this big power in us, and that's what we want, and that's how we want really to live with. From there, from that connection, from that power, that's life. And we have the power of change anything. And please, 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 get rid out of being afraid of what people will think about you, and the fear of being punished if we don't obey the system. And this is very, very important thing right now, especially in this kind of control wave about our immunology and the power we have and the power of our immune system. Like, wait a minute, immune system is more powerful than I have been said. So just be aware of that. Be aware of our real power. Thank you.
Thank you, Melina. I am sure many of us acknowledge and feel this connection to what you're talking about regarding the acronym you used for pain. Put attention, integrate now. This is about consciousness and mindfulness and engaging intentionally or focusing on what is emerging as a way to reconnect with what regeneration is all about. So thank you very much. And now it is Erin's turn, and she will speak to us about women, water, and wisdom. The floor is yours, Erin.
Thank you very much. It's an honor and privilege to be with all of you today. Thank you, Karen, for your vision with all of this. So before we begin, I'd just like to offer starting in the heart as we turn our attention to women, water, and wisdom. The heart is our great reconnector within ourselves and with each other, just as the water is our connection point within ourselves and with others on this planet. So just invite you to take a moment to turn your attention to your heart and just imagine that your breath is flowing in through your heart, breathing in a little deeper and a little slower than usual, And then just exhale from your heart. Breathing in deeply into the heart. Exhaling from the heart. Now just breathing in appreciation for water itself. This life-giving element. As we breathe out, we radiate that appreciation out to water. We breathe in that appreciation for the pure waters. We exhale appreciation for the water. Water is life's matter and matrix. It's our mother and medium. There is no life without water. Water really is life. We are water, as Melina said. We are 2/3 water. So when we can start appreciating water, we can begin to change literally our own cells and create this different relationship within the planet and with water itself. I was privileged to grow up in the Northeast United States. I had a summer birthday, so it was always filled with sprinklers and being able to go to the pool. And I have so many magical memories around water. And I'd never thought about not having water, like not being able to go to the tap and turn on water, or take a bath or a shower or flush a toilet. But as I got older and started traveling, I became aware that 2 billion people on this planet actually do not have access to clean water. And I was actually in Nicaragua there to teach a yoga retreat for kids. And the very first day, the kids showed up with glasses and utensils because they heard or assumed that we would have water and food for them. And it obviously touched my heart deeply. Yes, the yoga experience and the creative experience that I was there to help facilitate was, a wonderful offering, but those kids needed water and food. And from that experience, it lived in me in a way of just knowing the abundance that I am blessed to live in. But there was this connection point of true care for these kids, and knowing that I could make a difference somehow, or connecting with I wanted to make a difference somehow. So my organization, the Water Bears, was born out of that desire and that knowing of abundance that flows in my life. So Water Bears was born from this idea of women who have access to clean water to get it to those that don't. Because we know that women are the one primarily in a lot of the villages, it's their role to go get the water. Sometimes that means that that's their only job. They get up early, they have to travel many, many miles, collect dirty water, and bring it back to their village. You can imagine only so much water that you can carry, mostly on their heads. So this job is, can be an all-day thing for many, many women. Just take a moment just to think right now about all your connection points that you've had thus far today with water. And if you had to go collect that water, what your day would be like, as opposed to joining in on Zoom. So Water Bears was, again, born out of this idea, this desire to help those women. It started off as a 30-day campaign just to raise consciousness, raise awareness, raise this, connection point with water, and to help make a difference for these women. Never did I dream that it would be a full-blown nonprofit, but in listening to my own heart, things just kept organically evolving. And now 7 years later, we've done work in 33 different countries. And I've been so honored to witness the difference that providing women and children and men with access to clean water really has. I've seen where Villages now have rain catchment systems or filtration systems, boreholes, and the water then provides them the ability to grow fruit, vegetables, abundant gardens that then the women are able to take and sell in the market and earn a wage. Now these young girls, where it was their job to go and fetch the water, these girls are able to go to school. So the ripple effects of providing access to clean water are generational, and it's in the sustainability and the health of people. But I have found that the water, you provide somebody with access to clean water, you provide them with hope and dignity and love. And water is this mirror, and it's conscious. And so for me, it has been my greatest teacher now, because I don't want to show up and I don't want to share energy of dirty or unpure water. So I constantly have to check back in with my own heart and make sure that I'm connected with that original desire of sharing from an abundant place, not from a place of guilt or shame, but really from an overflowing place within my heart of wanting to make a difference. So that is the essence of the work that I get to do. It's blessed work, because, as I said, when you provide somebody with access to clean water, you provide them with so much more. And I have seen when we do the demonstrations of there's dirty water and now there's clean water, I always take the first sip just to make sure that they know it actually is safe to drink. I will hand it over to a woman. She not only takes a sip, but you can see they begin to pass it around. They don't just hold on to it for themselves, they share it. And even something that may seem very insignificant and small, but having women stand up in front of their villages and put these systems together, or just stand in front of their villages and have men actually listen to them speak, I can feel different dynamics changing. So that is also part of the work that we do. But I just, again, want to highlight this distinction of kind of care and overcare, and really being mindful of that, and always being able to come back to your heart and that desire for creating change. Because again, water is consciousness. It is our connection point. So in just closing, I'd just like to offer that my co-founder always says the acronym AIR, like action is required. And we can't all start a nonprofit. It's not in our DNA, perhaps, or our blueprint to start a nonprofit and do clean water work, but there is something that each one of us can do every single day. And that is, when you have water, be grateful for it, appreciate it. You getting your water? Yeah. Yes. Cheers to life, to each one of you. And as we drink it down, we drink in this connection point, this appreciation, life itself, and just a different honoring of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erin. There is a very well-known greeting here in Costa Rica that is pura vida, and it literally translates to pure life. And that's what came to mind with this toast of water. And I also want to acknowledge this greatest inequity among our species, where 1 in every 4 human beings does not have constant access to drinkable water. And if you can bear with me for a moment, and you can picture a large gym or auditorium or an open field with 5,000 children gathered together, making a lot of noise. having a hard time paying attention. 5,000 of those children under the age of 5 die every day because they have a chronic lack of drinkable water. I would like now to facilitate a conversation among our speakers. And the first thing I would like to ask is if any of you would have a question to ask to the others. And if you could please, yes?
Beautiful, thank you. We had our first question coming in online, so I'm going to jump in and ask a question on behalf of the chat, if that's okay. So this was a question during Melina's conversation, and it came from Fernanda. How do I deal with this huge pain? I don't know how to deal with it.
What do you do with the pain? You feel it. And your body is more intelligent than you think. You will go the deep you need to go, and you can resist to go, and you can see through that dive into the pain. You don't need to pass through the whole pain at once, you know, but you don't have to do anything with the pain. You have to feel it, feel the pain. We have to kind of disembody a little bit and put it beside what we are feeling, just in order to don't feel it. We are just, you know, like some healing techniques is because we are just turning around the pain there, because we don't want. It's so difficult to just dive into the pain. We have all these restrictions and obstacles, but there is not the pain that we really need to deal with. What we need to deal with is the resistance of feeling whatever is happening. It's painful, okay, but the feeling is sadness, the feeling is anger, the feeling is other things, but it is painful to feel that. So we really need to deal with the resistance. So we need to resist the resistances. We need to come back to that space of childness, observer, and think about it as if we in the middle of a duality. You know, like this is bad, or this is good. This is positive, or this is bad. This is negative. This is feminine or masculine or whatever. We are just in the middle, and we just are in the observer mode. If you are feeling pain, just observe it. Don't resist to the pain. Don't resist your resistances, because they will emerge. The consciousness of them will emerge, and then you will realize something. And when you realize that thing that emerges from it, the pain changes. It is like a change in the position from which you are seeing, and that gives you energy, because you are not more holding the resistance. So you are just changing the perspective, and you will be able to be in contact with that pain in a different way. And that's healing. That's healing, actually. You know, all the illnesses we see in the world is because we are resisting the resistance of feeling pain. And there is an amazing book I want to recommend you. It's called The Anatomy of Loneliness of Teal Swan. And she really described this process in a very deep way. So recommended.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I have a question, but I would like to give the opportunity to the speakers also, if you could signal with your hand if you would have a question to any of the other speakers. Otherwise, I would proceed with mine. And it is a simple question, but I do not expect a simple answer. And it is a question to Ekta. And it is, what has happened to the feminine energy and the feminine intelligence of some men around the world?
I can't claim to know what's happening with men around the world. But from what I observe, at least in my own country, it's not that they've denied the feminine intelligence or energy inside them, but because of this constant association of femininity with something negative, it's an insult to their ego to have anything to do, or to associate anything with the feminine. And in fact, I'll give you a small example. We have classical dances in India, which are really old, and they were meant for both men and women. But now, the way system has developed, that there are certain dances only women are allowed to perform. And if the men try to do the same dances, they're not even given an opportunity to perform on the stage. Because I take it as a systemic, it's like a block that men cannot explore their feminine energy. They're blocked if they ever want to try to do that. And like I said, there is an insult. And there was a politician who was recently in the news because he said, you're wearing bangles, and it's used as an insult. So there is this constant association of the woman or the womanhood with something that's derogatory. I worked in an organization where we had 3 languages. I was running a website in 3 languages. One of them was Hindi. And the Hindi word for woman is aurat. It's the common word used by the common people. And we were not allowed to use it because they said it's a bad word. It's a rude word. And I'm like, how can woman be a rude word? And we were asked to use the word mahila, which is the more formal word used in legal Hindi or used in, very chaste Hindi, which, people don't use that in daily life. In daily life, we use the word aurat. And I don't know if you're aware, but Pakistan recently had an aurat march. And they're like they're trying to reclaim that space. So it used to dazzle me that even the word aurat is supposed to be like a slur. Like, why? It just means woman, So that's what I mean. All the associations of the words, of the dances, of the spaces that are associated with women, they're considered dirty. They're considered, lower. They're considered something you don't want to associate with. So much so that the women have also normalized it. And naturally, if you're born in that environment, you're constantly, day after day, conditioned that what you are is horrible and it's dirty. That's how even the caste system works. It works on this kind of conditioning and gaslighting and brainwashing day after day for boys and girls both. And it's such a disservice we are doing, not just to the women, of course, it's a disservice to the men. I mean, imagine going your whole life and not having access to the whole range of emotions and to the whole range of what you can be. Although our culture is so gender fluid in so many ways, our gods and our goddesses are so gender fluid in so many ways. And yet in the way we live our daily life, everything has got so corrupted and so polluted that we need an awakening. We need an awakening of not just the women, but the men. And it has to be a collective awakening. The men need to see women as human beings. And I always say, just basic human beings will do. We don't want to be put on a pedestal. We just want to be treated as somebody with agency, as somebody with a life, as somebody who deserves an equal, place at the table. But it's the way things are. The woman has to fight for it. She has to go 10 times further than what the man has to go to reach the same position. That it needs that much amount of effort, which is why I really like to feature stories of women who've achieved something on my platform, because it has taken them that many times more energy, that many more times effort and intelligence to get there. Only 27% of the working labor force in India of women is working. And that doesn't mean they're not working. They're working at home, but they're unpaid. And so to imagine how difficult it is to be a working woman in the first place, to be able to step out of the boundaries of your house and to go out somewhere and work, how much energy that takes. And the biggest blocks are in your own family. They're in your own society. They're in your own, your community that doesn't let you go out. Once you get out of that, then there's nothing stopping you because you've already built the spiritual muscle by then. So a lot of the family, has created those bonds. It has created the parents are also brought up with those systems. The children are naturally then taking on after the parents. But sometimes what's happening now is that somebody gets out, somebody escapes, and then she becomes a role model for everybody else, for the next generation. And that's what's happening. And that's what gives me hope that people are changing. And Gen Z, that's this generation that's born after the advent of the internet, they're very different. They're much more gender neutral. They're much more respecting of each other. I see a lot of hope from this generation, and I hope to give them that voice and that platform, to come up more and more, because we need them, more than they need us. And like Melina said, we are born in harmony. It's the older people who end up conditioning and socializing the younger ones. But if we allow the younger ones to really be who they are, how they're born, I think that'll make a better world for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ekta. Yesterday, I was reflecting on the different conversations we were having here with expert panelists from so many different fields. And somehow it gave me the impression that all the most pressing global crises we're facing today, sanitary, economic, biodiversity, climate, energy, politics, they all strongly correlate to patriarchy. And I was trying to think, how can we permeate through patriarchy in order to have a better chance to be more effective at transforming these global conflicts that we're facing? And I have another question, and this one is for Melina. And I was reflecting on what you were saying about trying to recover the essence of being a child. And it's been a long time since I was a child, but I live with two beautiful girls. So somehow I am reminded periodically, regularly, all the time, how children are. And in this effort of trying to remember me at their age, I find it very accepting to let them, or not let them, I don't let them, to appreciate how they express their emotions. So I wanted to ask you if you had any recommendations for those of us who on a regular basis engage with children or are planning to engage with children. How could we recover the essence of being children?
Thank you. And well, that's the spiritual path, actually. That's the spirituality. That's what we can relate with spirituality. It's more like to bring this this is risky. I mean, life is risky. It's not safe. You know, life is not a safe place. Sorry if you thought about that, but we need to take risks in life. That's all the time what we are doing. We are deciding how we are living our life. So if you take the decision in the morning to be worried about all the things you have to do. That's your decision, and you take responsibility of it, you know. But if you decide to just, you know, take the time to drink your coffee and taste it, that's childhood. You know, if you take the time to see each other's eyes, just to be present for another person, that's childhood. If you know, like, it's kind of, when you're in contact with life, you are in your essence, because you are looking for that essence. That's why the path is not outside, is inside. You know, 20th century, we have been, we cross this, you know, like a fight for freedom in whatever side of the Cold War were, you know, like, they were just in the same goal of being right or being something, you know. And I want to come back to the patriarchy thing, because what I would say to the more patriarchal men in this world is that you are losing something really important. You're missing your life, actually. You're missing an amazing possibility, and it is relating to be in the essence, and to taste life. So if there is something like we feel like an intervention from outside, like, you know, when the mother or the father don't want to be as hard, let's say, with their children, you know, like, but you know, as father, that they don't, you know, they can't do that, or they need to go to bed, or, you know, like, this kind of daily situations in which children just need a membrane and a structure, and you have to do this. You can do it gently, you know, but we have been having so much pressure and violence on top of that it is like a, whoa, where this violence come from, really? Why this domination mindset is actually upon us all in the whole world? So when we find these kind of things inside ourselves, we really need to do like a whoa, like a no. It's kind of finding a parasite chip inside, you know, like a parasite. You don't want that parasite to keep going, eating your mind in that way. You have to really do like a whoa, and come back to that experience with the child, with yourself, your childness. It's not the inner child, it's the childness of wonder. And so just connect with that, and trying to just track what means that parasite mind, that it is just there, you know, somewhere that you cannot see, but it is like, why am I behaving like that? And it shouldn't be, you know, like, and it is not a guilty cycle. It's more like a whoa, you know, like, don't bother me. I'm with my child. That's it. You will know it. You will know everything. You have it inside you. So.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have another question in the chat. And could I ask Rebecca, please, to read it for us?
To Aikta, would you say that the loss of emotion is then also reflected in how we treat nature, the planet, and all living beings?
Yes, I think absolutely. And I think this topic has been explored by a lot of writers about how every time we deny the feminine principle, we're also denying our connection to the earth. And I think that's one of the things that the masculine is afraid of about the feminine, is her connection to the earth. And I think, and like I said, when you are afraid of something, you try to oppress it and you try to build systems to keep it down. So I think one of the things that is our strength as women is our connection to the cycles of nature. And this is something we need to tap into more and more. We have so many key strengths. One of them is our connection to nature. The other one is our love. Love can conquer so many things. But we have to recognize that love also comes with power. It also comes with strength. It also comes with responsibility to stand up for justice. Love cannot be feeble. Love cannot be passive. It has to be active. You have to have active love. Otherwise, it's of no use. And if you're a woman, you've been blessed, if you're a man too, you've been blessed with this whole reservoir of active love. But we don't do much about it, or we reserve it for a few people. We maybe reserve it for our families or our pets or our neighbors or our communities. But imagine if you just unleash the love. We've spent centuries unleashing hate. We've killed people. We've tried to conquer people. Imagine now if we have a whole new paradigm in which we put our love into action. We try to bring people together. Definitely, nature is the first place where you can take lessons from. We talked so much about water today, about the healing qualities of water. And this whole FemmeQ is about the different elements of nature and how we can connect to them. That's the first thing. That's the easiest thing, I would say, because it's all around us. It's so easy to access it. But we can also access it within ourselves. We have it already. And I think when more men wake up to the love inside them and they're more comfortable wearing their feminine energy, and I think when more women are confident wearing their feminine energy, the real feminine energy, I think we'll create a more equal world. And in my country, we'll have women who are confident of stepping out, and we'll have men who are treating women like equals. That's my dream. That'll bring the balance. We need to activate love on both sides. Love that comes with strength, that comes with power, comes with passion. That's kind of been missing in the past few centuries, and a lot of other energies have taken over with all this industrialization and poverty, and a whole lot of other things have been happening. Inequality, economics itself as a model. The market economy. I was arguing with my brother today morning, and he's like, "It's market economy. The one who's competing, they win." And I'm like, market economy needs to be rethought. Why does it have to be win and loss? Why can't it be win on both sides and keep the environment safe? So yeah.
Thank you very much, Aekta. I am mindful that we're about to finish, but I have a question here for Erin, and then there are other questions still in the chat. For Erin, we mentioned earlier the fact that fertility requires both the feminine and the masculine, but you brought us awareness of the fact that it also requires water. And literally, a drop of water holds fertility in it. So the question to you, Erin, is how do we reconcile this paradox, or at least apparent paradox, that we are living through, where we have chronic lack of water in some places of the world and excess amounts of destructive water in others?
It's all about awareness and consciousness. I'm still surprised that so many people really do not understand, do not even know that 2 billion people on our planet do not have access to clean water. A lot of people are just, ignorant about that fact. So for me, it always starts with just awareness and consciousness, and inviting people to learn more about it. And as I shared with you, it can be as simple as even just appreciating that the water that you do have will begin to change your relationship with water itself. And I just want to kind of piggyback off of what Ekta was saying about love. It really has to come from this place of love that we do our action and our service. That is the balancing of the masculine and the feminine, because the feminine is that feeling, that is love, but it requires action. That is the masculine side of it. So love and action is the balancing, the rebalancing back of it. So I just always think it starts with awareness first, and being appreciative, creating a different relationship with water itself. And I find that then people want to learn more about the work that I'm doing, or they find their own, way of getting involved and creating change when it comes to sustainable solutions for everyone when it comes to water.
Thank you very much. And one last question we have here in the room. Christine, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Erin and Melina and Etta, for your valuable presentations. They were very enriching. And my question is actually for Aeta. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. But I was so moved by your talk. I've spent a lot of time in India, and I consider it to be a kind of second home. And there are things that just inspire me so much about that country, and others that I find so painful and devastating, which you talked a lot about today. And I thought it was brilliant to try to create change through popular culture, through a magazine and inspiring stories. And because it's such a big country with so many people, how are you really going to create systemic change, which is a lot of what we're aiming for here? And I was just curious to hear what the receptivity has been like, because I imagine that a lot of people are not happy with the kind of content or stories that you're putting out there, and that other people are, need it so much. So I'm just curious to hear what the receptivity has been of the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I'll actually address something that you said a little earlier, that there's so much work to be done. And how do we do it? I'm just one person. But when I started out, I thought, I'm one person and I can do what I can do. So I can do my step, and then maybe I'll have other people join me. And even if they don't, at least I've done my bit. I've done the best that I could. And we work with what we have, with the resources we have, where we are, and we just start. And you'll be surprised to know that I have more male readers than female readers. And they don't always, they're not offended by the stuff that we do. On the contrary, I think it's a kind of it makes them happy. I think it gives them an insight into the world of women and to understand what women go through. And I was surprised when I saw the numbers on my Google Analytics, because I thought I'm creating content to inspire women. But if I'm inspiring men, well, I think perhaps they need to read all this. They need to hear what women go through. They need to hear women's journeys, women's points of view, which is so missing in mass media. You only hear the male point of view. You see the male perspective in the movies, So they want to hear it too. They're hungry for this too. And the only backlash I have is when, I feature a woman who's very strongly against patriarchy. And it's interesting that the backlash comes from an equal amount of women as men, because everybody is so uncomfortable with the system being questioned. There was an American poet who's actually of Indian origin. She wrote a book of poetry called I Will Not Bear You Sons. And her poetry is feminist poetry in reaction to the fact that Indian, girls, we're losing our population of girls because people get the fetus aborted the minute they find out it's a girl child. So we have this huge gap in our population of girls. So her poetry was a reaction to that, in which she creates a fictional character and a story in which her father-in-law is blessing her that may you have sons, which is a typical blessing in India. That's a very common blessing. May you be the mother of 100 sons. And she's telling him back, I will not bear you sons. If I have sons, I will abort them. And, I was so surprised at the kind of, the pushback from the audiences on Twitter and on the website, the nasty comments which were coming from both men and women. And the men were saying, they call themselves feminists and they're talking about murdering boys. Nobody's looking at the message behind her poem. They've just latched on to that one thing that she says that I will not bear you sons. And it's so offensive to their sensibility, So that's one of the few stories I would say that has pushback. Otherwise, in most situations, I think the men are very grateful to be reading positive stories of women and women's points of view.
Thank you very much, Ekta. Thank you for all your interventions and wisdom. You, Ekta, Aaron, Melina here, to the public present here and online, to those who brought questions up. Thank you very much. And now I would like to hand over to Mary Susan to take us to a well-deserved break.
Wow. I really appreciate that session. Wonderful women, great messages, and I'm just so grateful for that gift. Some of what it was said about the power of women, I have to say, it reminds me, and I kind of got a giggle out of it when I was listening to some of the speakers, about Fred Astaire. Remember Fred Astaire? He was a very famous dancer, and had so many accolades about his talent. But we have to remember that Ginger Rogers was his dance partner, and she did the exact same steps, and she did it backwards in heels. So I just think of the power of women is amazing. And anyway, time to celebrate us all. So now it's time for a break, time to take a stretch, have a refreshment, and reflect on all that we have just heard. During the break, we're going to be showing some videos that I understand from day one, most of the participants really enjoyed. So I have posted yesterday's videos in the chat room, and then they're going to be shown here today during this break. So let's convene at the top of the hour and enjoy your refreshment, water. Thank you.